I'm Jacob Shreve, and this is a brief demonstration of an app that's meant to track cumulative exposure to COVID-19 positive patients among hospital staff and caregivers. So this is how the app works in the beginning. You'll see two buttons. One is to start monitoring a room, and the other is to continue monitoring or resuming to monitor a room. We're going to click on the left button to start monitoring a room. You'll see that you're presented with a simple screen that allows you to specify the hospital floor, the particular hospital room, the patient's COVID-19 status, the employee ID of the caregiver who is setting up the room monitoring, and then an authorization code to allow it to be done. So we're going to put a specific floor. We'll use a generic floor. We're going to call it G80. And the room, let's choose 22. For the COVID-19 status, we're going to say this is a person under investigation, and I will put in a user employee ID here. And for the authorization password, we just have a generic clinic123 for the time being. I'm going to click on the begin room monitoring. Now you see that this is going to be what is presented in front of the door. So say that this app is running on an iPad or an Android tablet or a laptop outside of a patient's room. This is what you'll be presented with. You can see there's a large enter button on the left. Any person coming and going from the room will click on that button. Below that button, you can see that it defines the location, that this is meant for G80 bed 22. It'll tell you the date and the time that the room began monitoring. It'll show you the employee ID of the person who registered this room and the actual current COVID-19 status. So with that, we're going to click on enter. Now you can see that there's a list of recent visitors that's currently empty, or you can type in your employee ID number with this keypad, which I will do now. I'm going to click on go, and you can see that it now lists this employee ID that they're currently in the room. Let's say this employee is in the room doing their business. They come out and it's time to check out. They just click on the leave next to their ID number. You can see it confirms that that particular employee left, and now there's nobody else in the room. Say that person who came and went just now was the nurse, and they need to come back. They're going to click on the enter. Now that employee doesn't want to have to re-enter their number each time. They can see that they're on the recent visitors list on the left, so they're going to click on the enter button next to their employee ID number. And you can see it puts them back in the room. Say while that person is in the room, perhaps the food services people come to drop off a tray. They're going to enter the room. They're going to click on their employee ID number. And now you can see that both employees are in the room. Say that the food services person leaves. They leave. And then the nurse leaves. They're also gone. So now you can see we're back. If I clicked on the enter again, you can see they're both recent visitors, and we could always, of course, register new visitors. So a couple other things we can do at the bottom left. You'll see we can update the COVID status. So this patient was, under investigation. Let's say it came back positive. So we're going to update that status here. We can confirm the location, the registration date, the details and such, but we're going to just click on the positive. You'll see at the bottom of the screen the COVID-19 status is now positive. This is important because as every person comes and leaves the room, we get timestamps of where they were at, what time they were at, and actually the COVID status of the patient they were seeing. This is important because later we can run algorithms that will determine exactly how much exposure to each of these types of patients every person had across the entire enterprise. All right, let's say that we're using iPads and the iPad needs charging, or we want to swap it out for another device. You see at the bottom there's the stop room monitoring. If I click on that, we have a couple of choices. One is to end the monitoring completely. Let's say this patient checked out and we don't need to monitor the room anymore. We could end it, or we could suspend it. So let's say we're still going to monitor this G80 bed 22, but we need to change devices. I'm going to suspend the monitoring right now. Okay, I'm going to pretend that I just changed devices and I access the website from a different device. You can click on the resume monitoring a room, and we can click on the room that we've been at. So we were going to choose the G80 bed 22, and it says you can resume monitoring. You'll see it pulled in the details. It knows the room. It knows when it was originally registered, the original employee who registered it, and the COVID-19 status is still marked as positive as it has been before. Okay, now we could, simulate coming and going again, but instead let's just stop room monitoring, and we're going to end and go back to the beginning. Okay, so that simulated checking a patient out, and now this device is ready to monitor again. I think a couple quick notes. This is quite a simple app in in the front of it. I will say in the background, the nice thing is it runs off of an encrypted SQL database. So that's important because every time an employee comes or goes, numerous bits of information are captured and put into this database. You can have an infinite number of devices accessing this database all at once, and the database can be served from a particular web station that can be on campus somewhere. So everything is also searchable, so that database in real time as it's collecting information can be queried. Okay, well that concludes this demonstration. Thank you for watching.